Let's move on now, and I'm delighted and honoured to introduce someone whose career I followed for quite a long time, actually, Balbir Singh from Balbir Singh Dance Company. Um, I think, Balbir, you're going to tell us a little bit about your journey, but certainly your sort of chance discovery of the kind of language of Kathak and the North Indian dance form has led to an astonishing career and body of work, engaging a wide diversity of artists and performers. But I think you've got some really super um, focused work that you're going to share with us about your project with young people this morning. So over to you.
That's great, lovely. Thank you, Kate, and thank you to Moan Westlake for allowing the project to happen. So I'll just talk a little bit about myself and the company first of all. Bradford lad, and the company is based at Yorkshire Dance in Leeds. I was trained at the Northern School of Contemporary Dance initially, and from then went on to engage with classical Indian dance, and in particular a style from the north of India called Kathak. And long story short, where we're at the moment is we have, as a company, four strands of work that we loosely all work falls into. And so we have Celebrating Age, which is working with older artists, mainly artists 70 plus. And then we have An Appetite for Dance in terms of engaging new audiences with work. And at the moment, we're touring a piece called Love and Spice, which we're performing in rural settings tomorrow and the day after in Cumbria, which has a chef cooking on stage, which actually came out of the idea of conversation with Bradford World Curry Festival, who wanted me to come up with an idea for that. So the concept around that, just as an example, is there's an elderly couple, one has lost sense of smell and the other has lost sense of taste, and they're trying to revive those senses with Annapurna, who's the goddess of food and nourishment, and there is a chef cooking on stage. So for an audience, smelling those spices and having empathy with sense of smell and taste makes it real as a piece around food. So that's one example of An Appetite for Dance, and engaging new audiences and food, a nice way bringing people together. So we serve food as well. Sport and art is another strong strand of work that the company delivers, and this began in 2012 with the Cultural Olympiad, where we did a large-scale project. We're in a swimming pool with synchronized swimming clubs across the country with dancers and musicians, in terms of sport and art coming together, and synchronized swimming not being a first past the post sport, with a whole choreography and aesthetic judgment as well as a musicality. So that was the beginning of my engaging with sport and those audiences. And over the years, it's how we cross migrate audiences from one type of work to another. And our work we do features very strongly with a community and extensive outreach program, and also young people performing in the work as much as we can as well, to integrate in those casts as such. And then we also did some work on ice rinks and working with ITV ice skating champions as well. The two productions, one was Peacock Lake, my version of Swan Lake, with the swans killing the peacocks, killing the swans and taking over the lake. It was child friendly. And then we did a recent one around John Curry, who won the Olympic gold medal, and we brought a number of skaters across the world together to celebrate his work, and I found a narrative through that. And then we've done work with Keelan Phillips, who is a Euro BMX cyclist. That work came out of the Tour de Yorkshire. So this is the examples of the strand of sport and art. And then most recently with Magna Museum in Rotherham, we created an environmental work called The Boy with the Rollerblades, with a Olympic ice skater who also rollerblades. And the concept behind that is all the ice in the world is melted, and so he can no longer ice skate, and he has to rollerblade to try and discover the ice and reverse the melting of the ice. And we engage with a number of Rotherham schools and having that performance take place in Magna. So celebrating age, older performers, An Appetite for Dance, engaging new audiences, sport and art, and then we have the classical revisited in terms of how we modernize classical Indian stories and tales in different ways. So those loosely are the four strands of work that we present working in terms of in different settings. We work from libraries to outdoor settings, to festivals, to theatres, site-specific work as well. And so the work that we do is quite rich and is about diversifying and engaging different disciplines and different artists, and also finding different ways of connecting people. And there's a lot of learning that happens in the studio, or the themes that we use and that we draw upon in terms of the work that we do, much broader with children and young people, and how they feed into that as well. So that's a loose sense of it. So we, during the lockdown, we stayed very open, and people talk about the importance of the arts, and that's when we felt as we needed to connect with our audience with this lifeline of the arts as much as possible. And one of those was through the Moan Westlake funding with the particular project I'll talk about in a moment. So we worked with Allerton Primary School in Leeds, and we started working with them in December. It's a school which has over 20 languages spoken in it, and they were wanting to look at something to do with language and unifying these languages or other ways of finding communication. So new ways at looking at conceptualizing language. With the classical Indian dance style, there were 7, there are now 8 classical Indian styles of dance. And the style in particular that we used for this project is from the north of India, Kathak, which is sometimes referred to as the cousin of flamenco, with the gypsy connection between space and India. And it's a style with a mix of 2 religions, the Hindu religion with storytelling about different Indian gods through temple dance. Then with the Mughal invasion of India, they brought a Muslim influence to it. So the Hindu and the Muslim religions combine with this style of dance. And it's, in some cultures, there are no 2 separate words for dance and music. There's just one word that describes both. It's a very holistic approach. And with the classical Indian dance style, it's very much an oral tradition of learning. And by that, what I mean is, it's not a case of watch the movement and do this movement. It's a case of sit down and learn how to speak the dance first of all. And then once you understand it, then you place it in the body. So it's a very different approach. And your voice is your first instrument in Indian music. And so it's through the voice, this oral tradition, that we learn the dance first of all and communicate. So dance and music, there is a language for the dance to describe every single movement you do. And then there is a language for the music, mainly a percussion instrument, tabla, from the north of India. A bit like the piano, C, D, E, do, re, mi. There is this language where, depending on where you strike the instrument, and it's very rap and very poetic like. And so if you combine the language of dance and the language of music, you get the language of rhythm. And so with Allerton Primary, a school who were wanting to explore language and different approaches to language and how to bring together all these languages that were spoken in the school in an equalizing way, we brought in this concept of the language of rhythm as our main focus to work with the groups there. So we also brought in Braille and also Morse code as some elements of it. And I'll just take you through it very quickly so you understand a little bit rather than my just talking about the whole thing. So we had a rhythmic phrase. I'll very quickly speak it. Digida digida te, diga diga te, digida digida te, diga diga te, ta teya a teya ta teya a teya digi 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 ta, ki ta. So it's rap, it's nonsense syllable, it means nothing in one sense, but it has a nice poetic quality. It's bringing together this language of the dance and the language of the music. So this was the backbone of our introduction to the work we were wanting to do with them. It could be very dry, spoken as a sentence, without any emotion behind it, but we gave them examples of how to communicate using this and drawing upon this, and a different way of using the voice to learn as well. And so we broke it down to digida digida te, almost like an exclamation mark. You're making a very strong point. Digida digida te. And then the second part of that diga diga te was like italics, a very soft voice. Diga diga te. So digida digida te, diga diga te. Then 4 lines. Second line was ta teya a teya ta teya a teya. A nice flowing something. And this, we gave it a question mark at the end. So they had to say it in a questioning kind of way. Is it this or is it this? Ta teya a teya ta teya a teya. And then the third line, diggy 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 diggy. It's almost like a secret. You're trying to share a secret with someone. So you're saying, you're trying to tell your best friend, come and listen to the secret that I've got that I want to share with you. So very almost mischievous, like diggy, 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 diggy. And then to conclude, the 4th line, we have to be very serious to make sure we finish at the right time. It's very rhythmically precise, very mathematically precise. So almost like a judge in court passing a sentence. Ta, ki, ta. The strong full stop at the end. So this is how we kind of broke it down for them to think about how they can vocalize and speak in different ways. And we then got them to engage with each other with these nonsense sounds or syllables or this language of rhythm to find their own ways of having a dialogue or a conversation in different ways with that as an example. We also introduced the Indian god Krishna, who is shown playing the flute, the bamboo flute, and he wears earrings and a beautiful golden necklace, and he has a peacock feather crown, feathers of a peacock on his head, and he's a warrior going to battle, and he's also a very strong and noble god. So we introduced this idea, and then we placed the rhythmic phrase within this sequence of movements to do with Krishna. So digida te, with a peacock feather crown into the flute, digga te, digida te, digga te, and the earrings ta teya ah, teya necklace ta teya ah, teya. And then he was also a small boy herding the cows in the field with a stick, diggy, god ta ki. So we gradually introduced this, and it was not only about them looking at language in a different way, but how they can use language to learn dance, as opposed to, right, I'm here to teach you some dance, learn this movement. So for the school, it challenged that they have done a lot of dance before, but there was a nice quote from the head teacher, Joy, who said, and I'll quote, "It opened our eyes to the intricacies and challenges of Indian dance." And again, it was bringing a different way of getting them to communicate with each other, as opposed to having all these different languages. Everyone was using the same language, the language of culture, the language of art, and at the same time finding movement that works within it. And you also have the rhythmic sequences that you do with the feet, usually wearing bells on the ankles, stamping on the ground. So we broke it down rhythmically, and also body percussion in terms of clapping and stamping and clicks and different sounds. So it was a very rich project, begun in December with taster sessions and then Zoom sessions, then face-to-face. We're finishing off with a little bit more work. We also had the Leeds Beckett University students come in and engage and do some filming as well. And they edited together a short animation. So as well as our delivering the dance, they did some illustration and some drawings, and they did some audio recordings of the work as well. So they took it back to the classroom, and then the Leeds Beckett students, they took that away and they created a small animation. So I'll show you that. We'll show that shortly, which uses their voices and also their drawings, which are then animated and put together in the sequence in a different way. So it's been a very richly rewarding project, especially for us, especially through the pandemic, and also how to effectively use Zoom technology and it being very flat and no audience energy there as such, but become more confident and versatile and friendly with that. And at the same time, the engagement with the teachers. So we're not just parachuted in to do something and that's it. There's a lot of learning left with the teachers to take the work forward at the same time. It's important to spread the art and engage in different ways. So that's a loose sense of what the project is, and I'm happy to answer more questions around it. So we have a short film to show, if someone is able to show that. It's about a minute long, of the Leeds Beckett University students and the animation that they created. Great, thank you. So this is now an installation in the school alongside some other work that they've done, and also other forms of greeting and communication as well. And on the 5th of next month, we're also doing a performance for governors and parents as well, and other VIPs as such. So it's the relationship with the school is totally new for us, and it's important for us also to be working in Leeds as well. And the school was very open and very receptive to it. They felt that their students do a lot of dance and they're very confident with things, but we took them on a different kind of journey in a different way with how you can perceive and understand dance and how you can bring different cultures together and how you can make them feel confident using the principles and the essences of learning a cultural art form in a different way, and how they can use transferable skills to take to the classroom and other things that they do with that. So that's my presentation. Thank you.